Welcome to this episode of Samvadanam. I'm in conversation with Sri Parameshwar Raju, the son of Satyavati and Lieutenant Colonel Dr. Pusapati Appala Raju. He was born in the year 1961 from Vizianagaram. He is the recipient of a double MFA in typography and design and visualization from Dr. Dada Saheb Ambedkar Marathwada University, Aurangabad. He is the recipient of the Senior Fellowship under the Ministry of Culture. His pioneering practice of 36 years and thereafter his innovation of a new genre, the pictorial calligraphy, which profoundly imagines, narrates symbolism and iconography in his very own stylized calligraphy by simply using the thin, thick, linear elements of an academic practice of calligraphy. He is acclaimed the world over. His works are multidimensional in the sense of intention, primarily to satisfy his aesthetic impulses, to create pure forms, and secondly, to collaborate with contemporary artisanal practice, such as wood carving, etching on wood and metal, weaving, and many more. He also wishes to inform market practice with the joy of innovating design, elevating quality of design and material, so that artisans and craftsmen are able to drive in new elements in their own practice to create objects of daily use. Thus, the rich, traditional artisanal practices are not isolated and left to stagnate. He has participated in 5 biennial exhibitions. His works are in the collection of Government of India. Selections of over hundreds of his works are showcased in the Museum of Sacred Art in Brussels, visited by art lovers across the globe. In fact, a selection of his iconic calligraphy works on all Indian religion is in very prestigious collections. We are extremely honored to have a wonderful artist and an extremely down-to-earth person, Sri Parameshwar Raju, with us today. And I cannot believe that this is something we pulled off to actually talk to him. A fantastic artist who's actually thinking quite outside the box, using tools and ideas that are, exist all around us, but to see a completely new perspective and to dig deep within to bring out something that he has as an artist to all of us is something amazing. I'm so glad you were able to join us, Raju Garu, and it's amazing to have you with us. We're so happy.
Namaskaram.
Namaste.
Thank you very much.
It is completely a pleasure. It is completely a pleasure. Okay. I just wanted to start off asking, because a lot of us know your works, but we don't know the artist behind those works. And I think it's very important to understand that, only because, the learning or understanding an artist gives a lot more perspective on the art that they do. Because, it is anything that comes from within is what is expressed as an art. So, calligraphy generally is always around us, be it in science, be it in texts like Japanese calligraphy. There's so many other ways, but it actually connotates something. It usually talks about words or stories, something very particular about it, right? But you have sort of utilized it in a very, very different way. It's very pictorial, and you've utilized it to depict very surprisingly characters that we never thought can be depicted. Like Rama, it could be even Hanuman, it could be Shiva, it could be Narasimha, it could be the Dashavataram. The gamut of the characters that you've been able to depict is something mind-boggling. What inspired you actually to begin this journey? It is a different journey itself. So we would love to hear that.
Okay. It was in the year 1982. I was in the first year of college, in the Fine Arts College. We had a subject called typography, and in that we had one sub-subject called calligraphy. Now we were taught how to write English and the Devanagari script. And Devanagari because the college is in Maharashtra, and then it was important that we learned to write Marathi in the Devanagari script. I was lucky to have a teacher who was specialized in Pothi writing. Pothi writing is writing of the scriptures. So he specialized in that. And then I started learning the Devanagari script because it was new to me. English I could write. And over a period of time, I started mastering the Pothi writing from him. So this teacher's name is Professor S.V. Pense, and he taught me the nuances of the Devanagari script. Before that, when I was in the Sainik school, we had a teacher called A.K. Ramavarma. He taught me how to simplify while doing sketching. We had an art subject in the school, and that's where I learned that you could actually simplify images. Somehow I lost my way and came to the art school from joining the army, and then a new education started. So that little information what I had received from my earlier teacher and what was taught to me by my professors in the art school actually clubbed very well. And then it helped me a lot in terms of simplification. In the final year of my college, we had one professor called V.B. Lokhande. He was department head and he taught us design. And he taught me how to see. It's very important what you see and how you see, and in what context you see. So these were the three things which have been clubbed together in my work. After I finished college, I used to have, because it was all handwork which used to be done in the advertising agencies. So we used to give a lot of time for finishing designs because we need to give 8 to 10 hours minimum to finish a design.
Oh, wow.
So we had only half an hour or so to, pass on the design to the studio to finish. And when they were finishing the design, I used to sit and then practice my pothi writing because I enjoyed peace and quiet. And I used to do that. So then I realized that in pothi writing, we have two groups of people working. One person writes the script and the other person draws the image. So there is a pictorial element and the written element.
Right. That's wonderful to get
where I actually did a body of work, trying to see if I could use the same tool for drawing.
The experimentation started, right?
Yeah, I'd gone to Biligiri Rangana Betta, that's near Mysore. My cousin used to be there, and then I spent about a week there in the place. And the image is what formed in my mind. I drew those. You find a lot of birds around to show life around the tree. This is more of a tree of enlightenment where it is representing presence of Buddha. There's the tree of alphabets, knowledge.
Huh.
These are my Devanagari. This is how I write Devanagari.
Beautiful.
This is from the Puri tradition of seeing the marks of Shanku Chakra for the Jagannath idol. These are just images what formed in my head when I went to the forest. The coconut tree. You'll find a lot of Shiva shrines in the forest. Under a tree where there'll be one shivling and people would have come and lit the place. These are about 40 of these drawings.
But it's amazing, right? That was the start of the journey itself.
Yeah, we started with, because I needed to get used to the tool and then see how it works. So because I was working with the same calligraphic tool, I thought, why not I do the image also with the same tool? So I started drawing Om because that was very close to the script. And then I tried experimenting different forms of Om. And it ended up with about, right now it has ended up about 350 different styles of Om.
Oh my
So
God.
that's another book, which how I stumbled upon the whole thing is from these Om drawings.
Correct. These are actually the seed for, your ideas
Yeah,
and artistry.
that is Om Saraswati, the swan. That is Kumaraswamy, sorry, Ganesha, and the Tamil Om.
Correct.
Now, this you have seen earlier.
Oh, wow.
So I keep practicing. Even now, when I have some time, when I don't have some work to do, if I have to get my hands free, because if I don't work for, say, a week or 10 days, I can't work again, the flow doesn't happen. So then I keep creating new
Practicing
forms
and
of
working
home,
on
and
it.
yeah, that is more of my practicing. In this book, there are 108.
Unbelievable. And what an auspicious number to come to as well, 108.
Yeah. These are. The sad part is, especially in Andhra Pradesh, we're not using the Telugu Om. We use the Devanagari Om. I feel that's not right in the temples. They should start using the Telugu Om. See, when I was doing Om, this is the one which became Hanuman.
It just flowed into it. Unbelievable.
So as I was doing Om, I stumbled upon Hanuman.
And that helped you with the Ramayana series itself.
Yes, to complete the Ramayana series.
It's very significant, yeah.
There's the Gurumukhi Ekonkar. There's the Telugu Om stylized. That's Ganesha as Om.
Right.
This is Hanuman as Om. This is in Odia. There's something like similar to this. This is 54 Ohms, and there's another one with 108
Oh.
all of them together.
Absolutely beautiful.
Yeah. It's coming up. So this is what happened. And when I started doing that, and then I started writing the Gayatri mantras, and then started adding images to it. And then it went on like that when I stumbled upon drawing the human figure with the same stroke. So the human figure has two distinct shapes in terms of the head, where a square diamond-shaped head is for man, and for a woman it was a circular head with a bun. So these were two very identical things which happened. And then I stumbled upon, when I was reading the Ramayana, I just saw the image of Rama, Lakshmana, Sita crossing the river Sarayu, and they mentioned Guha. They don't say King Guha because he was the tribal king. So I wanted to show this tribal king and these three people. I was just experimenting to see how this whole thing combines so that they get equal weightage in terms of their looks. Plus we have Guha rowing the boat.
Right.
And the boat has to be decorative. So I made a very decorative boat. So that was my first drawing of the series, which later ended up with 61 drawings of Ramayana.
Wow.
So it started with a few drawings, then slowly graduated to about 34. But in between, I had a gap of nearly 7 years because I could not draw Hanuman in a simplified. It took me a long time, and I was still practicing writing Oms. And in one of the Oms, I suddenly stumbled upon Hanuman. And that's how Hanuman came into picture. Then I added the tail, and then there it was. So all the images related to Hanuman got filled up.
Right. Right.
So the whole Ramayana got done in about 34 frames. My Ramayana starts with Shiva narrating the story of Rama to Parvati
Right.
and telling her that whoever listens to the story of Rama is blessed. So that's how I've started. This is a very traditionally South Indian version. As the gods have gone up to Vishnu,
Vishnu.
asking him to take birth on land. And then these are my earlier drawings.
Ah,
That is Dashrata giving
Dashrata giving
the
the
payasams.
kheer, the
Yeah.
payasam.
That is birth of Sita and Janak Maharaj. Now these drawings, if you see, they are the earlier drawings where they're very simple. Now what I have done in the final drawings are more elements have been added into it.
Mm-hmm.
There's the Rama Sita Kalyanam. There's Mother Keikeyi and Manthara.
Mantra.
You'll never see only Rama and Sita anywhere. So I said I must I have a picture of Rama and Sita together.
Just Rama and Sita, yes.
Yeah. And this is when Lakshmana joins them to go to exile.
Correct, go to the forest.
This is the boat, which has become more simplified now. It's not the earlier boat.
Correct,
but
which you had
made it
mentioned you
simpler
had.
because I had to, because that boat was very big and people were small. So here I needed to make the boat smaller so that the drawings are more prominent. As Bharat comes back asking Rama to return to Ayodhya, then this feet of Rama.
Beautiful.
This is where was the problem, where in the north they misunderstood it, but then I had to tell them he's leaving in care of Agni. That is the golden deer and Rama.
Right.
That is the Ravana coming asking for alms. Abduction of Sita. And there's Jatayu at the bottom.
Ah, there, yes.
This was the thing which actually troubled me a lot. I couldn't get this figure. So when I was drawing Oms, I suddenly stumbled upon this form, and then that's where the story of Rama started completing again. It's Vali and Sugriva. That's Surusa the snake. Hanuman finds Sita in the
Sita.
Vatika.
Right.
So the drawings have changed. If you see the final Ramayana, I'll send you those pictures. They are so much more different. Like this one. This one is actually this is, can you see the cursor?
Yes.
This is Om. This is that 3 strokes. No, if you flip it, then it becomes Om. And this is the top one. So when I saw this, I just clubbed the body of Hanuman with this Om, and it made it look like Hanuman sitting on his tail.
Sitting on his tail, yeah. It's amazing, yeah.
So as you keep working and experimenting, things keep changing.
True.
Now that's burning of Lanka. This is worshipping Shiva before the battle,
On the banks, correct.
the building of the bridge.
Ram Setu.
This is the Nagpash. Lakshmana gets hit by the Nagpash. Lakshmana falls down, and then Hanuman gets the. This is how my drawings used to be earlier. Very
Right.
simple. But now what I've done is I've added the mouth, which is very prominent for Hanuman, so that it's very distinct. Earlier, the only reference was the tail, which could
Right.
identify Hanuman. That's breaking up of Kumbhakaran. That's killing of Ravana. Worshipping Shiva again after the battle. Because for Shanti of the soul, you worship Shiva. And then you give pind at the Vishnu's feet. So I thought I should add this. And this is returning back from the care of Agni, returning back to Ayodhya. This is lighting of the lamps at Ayodhya.
Correct.
And Hanuman stays back. Then over a period of time, as people would ask, what happened to this? Why not this? Why not that? And it got on added. And at the end of it, now I've completed the Ramayana.
Wonderful.
So this has been my journey from learning the Devanagari script to converting into pictorial forms. And these 7 years, actually I experimented in terms of basically trying to figure out how to create an image with the same tool. And then once I finished the series on ohms, then it just became one after the other. Now I need little time to work on my workbooks to see how I can actually finish the work. And then, get the basic shapes together. And then I use the traditional Indian grid, which is used by our craftsmen in India, especially in southern India. I don't know about the north, but we use a grid which is based on nature.
Right.
So somehow, because of my design practices and me using this grid, which my grandfather told me one fine day in Aurangabad, that there is something called a grid, and which is used for traditional Indian work. Then I couldn't go deeper into that subject that time because he passed away immediately after that, and so I did a lot of research, and then I came up with a whole concept of grids which can be used. Now in grids we have two types of grids, or in nature we have two elements which are very clear. When you have something which has got odd number of elements, is considered masculine, and with an even number we call it feminine.
I see.
Similarly, we have plants which are masculine and feminine. Same thing with the flowers. And so then I realized that we use all these for different rituals. There's a certain flower you use for Shiva, there's a certain flower you use for Ganesha, there's another flower which you use.
True.
So these are actually related to this masculine and feminine energies which are in nature. Then coming back to sculpture, what has happened is I stumbled upon talking to a carver from Mahabalipuram.
Okay.
He said, "Aan kalirke, pen kalirke." That is, male stone is there, a female stone is there. So he says, you can't work on the aan color because it is too hard. You can't really carve anything out of it. Your tools are different. So you need to actually source a pen color.
Oh, wow.
So it was, and then the way they make the tools for these stones, it's a different thing altogether. And then I was found that they were using the same grid to work, the same proportions to work. So that has been practiced. So much of my work, what you see, has got the what we call as the Shakti grid, or the feminine grid, because I follow the even, because it needs to be replicated to left and right. It has to be the same when
Symmetrical
you're
and
doing the
yes,
design.
yes.
It's the symmetry part of it. So when you're actually looking at symmetry part of it, it has to be a feminine, that is the even grid. It's that way. It's not that you can't do that, but what in design, what I found is when you use a masculine grid or the odd grid or the even grid, let us put it that way, the odd grid, then what happens is the image is completely different from what it is when you use the same elements in a even grid. So that is what has happened. Now, people do work with a lot of calligraphy, and they write and they follow whatever has been existing in this world for a long time. For example, the way the text is written, because it is a Western, English is Western, not Indian. And then you actually go back to scriptures again, the way the Bibles were written, and later how they started having good penmanship so that they could write legible writing so that people could read each other's letters.
True.
Beyond that, there was nothing else. So there was a practice of how you would actually uh, create a style and then have a common style so that people all over our community could read and write. What I thought was it doesn't make sense to learn how to write English because it's easier. In the Indian languages, it's very difficult because of the style of writing. One, we do, like for example, we have two sets. We can broadly divide our Indian languages into two groups. One with the book quill, which you write, and then we have the palm leaf writing.
Right.
So in palm leaf writing, there is no thin, thick stroke at all. It is even thickness because you are using a metal stylus to draw.
Correct.
Right. So you have the complete Devanagari style of writing, which is in the north, Maharashtra, and up till the Bengali and Assamia and all that. These can be written with a calligraphic nib, because that is how it has been written all these years. In the southern Indian languages and Orissa, the Odia language, now we have a palm leaf writing script. So our scripts are, they're not, you actually cannot use the same nib to write these scripts, though people are experimenting in terms of creating a new fonts. But our scripts are equal thickness scripts. So that's the difference. Coming to the next stage of the usage of the calligraphy as part of design, a lot of them have started using it on fabric. Where they write, so the tradition is you write Rama, 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 or you write Om Namah Shivaya, because it is a religious practice.
Right.
Where once you are traveling from your village or your house to the shrine, no matter how far, then you wear that cloak so that people know you are on a pilgrimage. Then you have the Ramnamis who tattoo their whole face, the whole body with Rama. So we have had, not that we didn't have a calligraphic practice, but there has been a calligraphic practice, but it has been very religion-centric. It's religion and culture-centric. It was never, the written part of it was okay in terms of writing documents or sending letters here and there. Next is when it comes to the fabric in terms of weaving, and I think a calligraphic stroke does not really help the weaver to give that finish. It takes a lot of time to get used to that stroke.
Correct.
So you find that there are the finity of it is not there. But then we worked with one weaver in Yeola, where we tried to use our scripts, like my images, to weave, to be woven in fabric. And it nearly took him a year to get used to the strokes. And then now I just send a design and he does it for us.
Wow.
So this practice of converting the image to other elements is also there. Next is the same script in terms of how the script can be changed to the products as such. Because when you use the traditional grid and you have that stroke element, which is a curve, this thing, then there are images of like a whole set of vessels have been created
Right.
for puja. So I'll share with you. So that is another area where we're working on. The grid, this is the traditional Indian grid which I use. There's a big explanation to why and all that. And these are the puja vessels done based on the grid, following the old tradition.
I see.
This is the Garuda on top. When you open the lid, you have a image of the idol here. In this, there's the Jagannath idol. These are vessels for puja, like water, milk, and curd. And things.
And what are these?
These are copper and brass vessels.
Okay.
This is the Kalasham. The Chembu. These are what references I have, because my grandmother was from Daspala in Odisha. So
Okay.
we have a lot of Oriya and Telugu imagery, which I have. Much of my work you'll find there's a lot of this combination. And then because I studied in Tamil Nadu, I have, and seeing a lot of temples in Tamil Nadu and Kerala, you find a lot of imagery very much South Indian.
Right.
And I prefer to have it that way because I relate to it better. These are with the lids. And these are heavy copper vessels. This is a lamp. That's how the wick goes into the thing. And then this is a small lamp, but it lights for about 3 hours.
Wow.
This is another lamp. This is a lamp stand, the agarbatti.
Agarbattis.
Yeah, this is for the dhoop. So if you replace the Garuda with a Trishul, it becomes shy white. When you know that way. This is that Aarti, and this is Udirna. These are vessels for flowers to take into the temple. This is the one which, what's it called? Shatkam, which is kept on the head as blessings with the feet of the Lord.
Yes. Chatari.
So, yeah. So now this one has the Vishnu drawing, feet of Vishnu on it. There's the bell.
And where do you source these, the basic?
No, these are just prototypes which have been made digitally. These are being done.
They're actually being made into metal.
Yeah, these are being made, yeah. This is, again, a very typically Odisha thing. Odisha, North Andhra, we have this. This is the Jagannath lamp with the peacock.
Beautiful.
For the Aarti. Now, this is the Thala. This has the Shanku Chakra images so that you know it is to be used for Prasadam and
Vishnu,
like
correct.
This is the Gulak. This is in metal, copper, and also in terracotta.
Mm.
Now there's a whole lot of vessels made in terracotta also. Then we have created some jewelry in
Wow.
terms of pendants, basically. So there's been a lot of work going on in these lines.
And it's amazing because it's so cross-cultural as well. You've actually been able to touch so many different other, artisanal works, be it jewelry,
Yes.
be it fabric. It's not just a pen on paper.
Now we are planning. Yeah, now we're planning to work with palm wood and leather also. So that is another project which we are working on. It'll take some time because I have to arrange for funds to set it up. So we are doing that. That is
And
another thing. Now, about calligraphy, what happens is we all try to imitate already existing calligraphy. Now, what I would share with people is don't imitate, because a lot of people who are doing it. Every individual has a style of writing. So if we use a calligraphic tool and you start writing your own script in with a different tool, that itself is a new calligraphic form. You can actually do much more by learning your own script and creating your own script.
that's amazing.
So,
You find inspiration within and see what more you can do, and not just perhaps follow what somebody else has done.
yes, it needs to be, because that helps you in um, creating something new and different all the time.
Absolutely. And it's amazing because your journey started somewhere else. And you said, somehow by mistake, you ended up in, for design.
I ended up in the art school. I didn't know I was joining the art school.
Well, thank God for that, because a lot of people on so much
I
of
think
art.
it's
So,
destiny.
yes,
You can't say
absolutely,
anything much
because
about it.
you yourself did not realize what was hidden within you, and I think destiny has
Yes.
shown you this is where you had to go. It's completely amazing when you talked about art cult, pen cult, because you're talking about two different, I won't say opposing forces, but complementary forces. Feminine and masculine, and it's interesting to see how these subtle differences make such a big difference in the actual artistic work produced. So,
Yes.
that's sort of great. But I wanted to ask you one quick question though. And this comes from, some of the words that you've been using on how you had a struggle with a little bit of trying to get Hanuman and things like that. What, in your opinion, would be, is at least in your journey, the hardest and then the most rewarding parts of calligraphy that you have been in your journey? What have been some of this, but what has been also the most rewarding?
The best thing that has happened is creating a new art form altogether. And two incidences which made me realize that my work was different and good. One was in Delhi when I had the Ramayanam exhibition, and I had all the women getting so angry with me, saying that why did you do Rama's work, and why is that Agni Pariksha happening there? I said that's not what it is. It's actually different in the south, because in south it is not Agni Pariksha, but Rama leaves Sita in the care of Agni. And after the battle, he gets her back from the care of Agni. So we don't have that Agni Pariksha, it's only in the north. So thing is, we have a different story in terms of what is there in the north and what is there in the south. And then once I told them, then the way they looked at the work was very different.
Completely changed, yeah.
Yeah, and then there were a lot of people who would come and say, what have you done? What's so great about it? So then I used to take them around. After you show them one or two frames, they said, look, this is a male form, this is a feminine form. This is Rama, this is Sita, that's Hanuman. And then you explain the first two frames, and then they start, following the whole
Correct.
story, because
Understanding the art.
they understand it. And after that, they become so emotional that I thought, oh God, my work is good. It's changing the emotions. And when I had my show in Brussels, I had a lot of young and very elderly people had come to see my Jesus store in the Museum of Sacred Art. And when they, because that is close to them, they would understand that better. And I saw that they were actually becoming very emotional. That's when I realized that my work is different. And it's right.
Unbelievable. Absolutely, because you're touching so many people with the art. The connect forms. I think that's what is most important for any artist. Once the
Yeah, you start seeing what you want to see in an abstract form, because it's not exactly realistic. It's just a thought which you're putting in the mind, and then that thought is being seen by the viewer in the way he or she wants to see it. So that's the difference. It's not exactly what you want people to see.
Wonderfully said. And of course, you're speaking about calligraphy. You actually gave an introduction about calligraphy as well. But can you also just say, some of the different styles in calligraphy? And is there something particular media that you chose that you've gone through? In fact, it'll be nice to even see some of.
Yeah. Now, the reason that people ask me why I use red.
Yes.
Red again, it's purely because of my design practices, where when we do a design, to see if the design is balanced or not, we put red color in that and see it in red so we know exactly whether it is right or wrong. So with red, what happens is if it is too overpowering, it becomes too dirty or it becomes too loud. And if it is less in terms of the intensity, then it looks very faint. So to control the weightages, you need to apply red color and see whether it is properly balanced.
Mhm.
Then only, then you can add any other color and then it
And
works.
see it. Right.
So it was purely that exercise which made me work with red. And then I got stuck onto that. And it's, another thing is, here I would like to share something else where I started exhibiting my work only in 2006, though I started work much earlier because I didn't have the right paper and inks, though I used to practice a lot. I used to use photo colors and inks, but these photo colors would fade in a week's time or a month's time.
Right.
So I could never exhibit my work. Then when we had gone to Baroda, I stumbled upon these calligraphic inks colors. And I said, oh,
Right.
I've got the colors now and the paper, so now I can start. And so I had to redo a lot of work which I did earlier. And then a whole body of work started. Now people want to learn calligraphy and immediately become masters in 1 week's time, which does not work. It's taken me nearly 40 years and I'm still working, where I'm still trying to improve and I'm still getting stuck with the color because when I'm overlapping colors, I have a problem. When I'm using, recently I did some metallic color works.
It's beautifully
This is the Now Durga.
metallic colors, right? From this end.
Yeah, metallic. It's been printed in gold and red. This you've seen, this Lalita.
Oh,
This Parvati worshipping Shiva. That's Durga. This is the Panchayatana.
hmm.
That is what Shankaracharya got us all to worship, 5 gods together, because we were all thinking ourselves very superior. Each one of us. That's the Durga Panchayatana. This is again Ma Durga on
Oh,
the tiger. This is the references from a sculpture in a temple. These are the Gram Devatas. There's Parvati on Nandi, Kali, Saraswati. That's Venkateshwara, Balaji, and Padmavati. the feet of Vishnu. So if you remove the, it's actually like this. If you remove the toe rings, it becomes Vishnu. With the toe rings, it becomes Lakshmi.
Lakshmi, right.
Lakshmi, yeah. So to represent Lakshmi, I put the Bottu here, the Shakti symbol, and I put the toe rings.
Toe rings.
You remove these and then, yeah.
It's beautiful. Yeah.
It makes it very different because the metallic inks don't stick properly onto paper. They are designed for only, writing. So you use a very thin nib to write. For that, the color is fine. But when you're using a dip pen with a broader nib, it just doesn't work. So now experimenting to see how it can be actually used. So is that way. So people need to have patience, and and I work from at times. Usually I work for 8 to 10 hours a day, but there are certain days when it extends to 15, 16 hours.
Oh wow!
Work. So
unbelievable.
People need to actually practice, and even master calligraphers all over the world, they still, when they're sitting, they'll be doodling or they'll be practicing those exercises.
Correct.
So that the stroke keeps coming right. Because as you become older, the line forms, it gets a different shape altogether. Because the control would be different, and then it changes from very sharp lines to very
slightly
softer lines.
Less softer ones.
These are the new works which I've done.
These include other colors as well, which is very fascinating.
Yeah, this is where I'm trying to use the metallic inks.
This is beautiful.
That's Hanuman and Anjali. That is Dattatreya. When I was doing Dattatreya, I thought I need to do Brahma. So that's how it is. That's Durga.
Wow.
That's Ganesha. Now, the 4 dots are because swastika has with 4 dots is Ganesha. So I removed the lines and just left the 4 dots. And that's the mouse.
Yes.
This is not. That's Ganesha. Like you, for Ganesh Puja and all, you use haldi for making the
correct. You do make that, correct.
Yeah. So that with the Bottu and swastika as an overlay on that. I'd gone to Jaipur, so there I saw, I'd gone to a Ganesha temple. So the reference is from that place.
Very nice.
This is my new Ganesha.
Oh.
So that is, this is the trunk and the head, and put the tusk here. This one is Hayagriva.
Yes. Very rare to see a Hayagriva, honestly.
Yes.
Very, very rare. So when I saw it, it was such a surprise that you actually had depicted Hayagriva. Yeah. Very beautiful.
Koili and me were discussing how to go about things, and then we said, why not we also start drawing the animals? So then that's how this has come in. Correct. Now this one is Kumaraswamy. That's the spear and the peacock.
Correct.
This is Kurma. Oh. Vishnu is the tortoise.
Yes, yeah.
That's Lakshmi. That's Narsimha.
Stunning. Absolutely.
With the Shanku Chakra. That's Parvati and Nandi. Now these drawings have again changed. That's Shiva. This is Varaha.
Oh, yes. Tusks. I just noticed the tusks, yes.
Yeah. And this Vishnu with the Sudarshana and Garuda at the bottom.
This is stunning.
This I was trying to see if I could do something for the children. So that's the lotus on the elephant. That's Vishnu.
It reminds me of Gajendra Moksha, actually, you know.
Yeah. So this is something which I'm working now, the latest work.
And it's beautiful to see so many colors in this.
Yeah.
It becomes a lot more, you know, different pictorial representation.
Yes. Now I'll take you through these. This is, that's Hanuman carrying the mountain. Air, the flow, the air,
the wind.
to show movement, yeah. And, it's not coming out. This one is Bapuji's Three Monkeys.
Oh, hear no evil, see no
For
evil.
the 150th year, they wanted, we were a few calligraphers selected to write on Gandhi, do some calligraphic work. So I had submitted, 5 works. So one of them is this. That's Buddha under the peepal tree.
Beautiful.
These are my earlier works where I used to experiment in drawing gods with more detail.
Right.
So these are from that series. This is Chamundeshwari. This is the Dasavtaram.
Oh.
That's Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, Narsimha, Vamana, Parashurama, Rama. This is Balarama, Krishna. Yeah, this is Balarama with the plow. Krishna and Kalki.
And even the lamps are beautiful on either side.
These are the Garuda lamps. Because it's Vaishnava, this thing, I put that. This is one of my favorites. This Dashavatara happened during an exhibition in Delhi where I was working on scribbling, and then within about a period of 10-15 minutes, the whole set got done.
Oh my God, I would not call that
one
scribbling.
Of those lucky ones. This is Durga killing Mahishasura.
Beautiful.
The feet of Lakshmi. You have the toe rings here to identify that they are of Lakshmi. There's Ganesha worshipping Shiva. This got me my first state award. That is Kumaraswamy, this Ganesha on the Mars, the Shiva Parvati on Nandi, and Kumaraswamy on the peacock.
Peacock.
These I stumbled upon when I was doing the series on Om.
Beautiful.
This is the Grama Devata. That's my Krishna. This happened when I'd gone to Brussels, where we had people, you know, they're so slim and tall, people in the ISKCON temples. And so that's when I drew this, and Radha. There's another one which is really beautiful. This is one of those much liked drawing. This tree happened over a flight to Delhi. This drawings. So that's Krishna, and the Krishna after this changed quite a bit. This is Lalita Amuvaru, where you have the 3 gods also together. There's Brahma, that is Swan, the Garuda, and
Garuda. Yeah.
That's sugarcane, then some flowers, the crescent moon.
Beautiful, yeah.
That's my favorite Nandi.
Yes. That's beautiful. Yeah.
That's my Nandi. This is a 20 inches by 30 inches. No, it's bigger than that paper. But that's Shiva with Nandis all around, guarding the shivling.
Oh,
There's another one, like when we, during the Kartik Mas, Shravan Masam, I think when we light the lamps. So that's Shiva in the form of lamps, and then
and how long does
Nandi all around.
each lamp has to be exactly similar?
No, I use, yeah, they need, otherwise they won't look nice.
Yeah, so that should
So
be quite a bit of
it is
effort.
that repetition, and so I use a guide to draw my work. There's Panchamukhi Hanuman from the Ramayana.
Oh, beautiful.
So you have Garuda, you have Varaha, this is Hayagriva, and this Narasimha.
Narasimha.
That is Ganesha listening to Saraswati. These are big works, 20 inches by 30 inches.
Unbelievable.
This is the Shiva family. Somewhere I had seen this image in a miniature. So I thought, well, let me try it out, and that's how this happened.
Yeah,
That's
there is
Shiva
Muruga
and
flying.
Parvati.
Yeah,
There's Ganesha on the Nandi pulling the cart, and then that's Kumaraswamy on the peacock.
correct. Muruga flying on the peacock. Yeah.
This I stumbled upon doing the Panchabhuta Lingas. So this is from Chidambaram, where um, you can't show emptiness and this thing in the drawing. So I said I'll use the Nataraja. But there's another drawing where you have a blank space and then you have a small Trishul at the bottom.
But this is stunning, actually.
But
That actually,
this is,
for every dancer, I think we relate to it so much.
yes. This is Sudama and Krishna.
Oh, beautiful friendship.
That is from the series of Sun. These are about 34 drawings.
Stunning.
That is the Shankh in the middle and the flames. That's Hanuman. This is showing the presence of Rama, because in the Vaishnava tradition, the Namam and the Shankuchakra will be constant. And these are other elements which represent the deity which is being represented.
Right.
This is the tree of life, taken from old Tamil bronze, slightly modified. You have the monkeys here, the cow and the bull. Then you have the swans here. There's a snake. There's a lotus here. And then I added the sun to it.
So much of detailing. Even the cow and the bull, the differences are so clear. It's amazing. And these you use by turning the paper, right? As you mentioned, you move the paper around.
Yeah, I turn the paper like the truck drivers turn the steering wheel. It's a complete turn because I'm a right-hander. So if you can use both your hands, then it's a different thing. But still, you don't have to move the paper so much. But because I use the thin stroke, I need to turn the page from wherever the stroke starts and ends.
Right.
That's Hanuman on the camel.
It's beautiful.
This is Vishnu and Lakshmi, Ananta Sayana.
Yes, on Adisesha.
Adishesha. The Hanuman Yantram in Hampi, which is carved on the wall. So that's the reference for this.
Absolutely beautiful. Again, sculpture moves into art.
Yeah, a lot of my work is more sculptural. So it actually looks very, very different. From the Jagannath series, of the Sri Mandir of Puri. Can you see the full frame?
Yes.
these are my versions in the calligraphic form of the three deities. This I did it for my MFA, which I did in 2017. That's my second MFA. I had some free time, so I said I must do another degree. And it helped me in a way of coming up with a new book. The subject was visualization. So this one is a completely different style of work, and you'll find elements from the previous work.
Hmm.
That is the Neela Chakra with the eye and mouth of Vishnu, of Jagannath.
Such a different representation.
That's Jagannath. That's Narasimha. Narasimha is worshipped in the Vaishnava tradition, especially in the Puri, the Odisha and Bengal, where there's a Krishna cult. Narasimha is given a lot of importance. That's Lakshmi with the lotus. That's Saraswati. There is in Bhubaneswar Shiva temple there. There is an idol of Jagannath behind the temple. The story goes that when the ashes of Jagannath were brought to Odisha, the then Kalinga, the ashes had to be kept in a temple, Shiva temple. So because it was Krishna's ashes, they were kept in the shrine. And over a period of time, both Vaishnava and Shaivite rituals started in the temple. And it became the Harihara temple.
Okay.
So the Shiva there, it's a lovely temple. You must visit that temple. This is of the people going in the bullock carts, looking in search of the daru. Daru is the neem tree, the wood of the neem tree, which is used for making the idols. They search for that tree, which shouldn't have a nest. There should be a snake around it.
Correct.
There are certain rituals, and then they have they strike it with a golden axe with Narasimha on it, and then they strike it with a silver axe, and then with a normal axe, and then they cut the wood. This is the axe, the golden axe, with Narasimha's image on it.
Right.
Yeah. That is getting back the daru. This building of the chariots. They have this particular, they have this Akarshini yantra on which the idol is kept.
Okay.
That is, there's a big lamp which is lit continuously, which is lit in the temple.
Always kept lit, yeah.
Always kept. Then these are the three idols with the Sudarshana. Sudarshana is the extreme right. This is Sudarshana.
Yes.
Jagannath, Subhadra, Balbhadra. That's Krishna.
Yeah.
They have a Krishna idol which is worshipped in the temple. All the rituals happen on this idol, not on the main idols. This is the Snani Yatra, when the idols are washed yearly once, and then the Ganesh mask is put on them and taken back into the temple. That's when a Patachitra artist brings a pata into the temple. That's how they bring it into the temple. It's most unusual thing. It's a sight worth seeing. As soon as it goes into the temple, it becomes divine, the Patachitra. There's the Patachitra being worshipped when the idols have been, taken for repairs inside, and then the Rath Yatra. There's the king sweeping the chariots. The broom is a beautiful broom. If you go to the temple, you must see the broom. This is my version of the broom, because we also consider the broom as Lakshmi. I put the symbols of Lakshmi. There's the Shankhu Chakra and the lotus. Jagannath being taken out of the temple. These are the three chariots. During the festival, Lakshmi is brought out of the temple and she goes around searching for Jagannath because he has not told her that he's gone out, out of the temple. And it's a lovely festival where the idol is taken all around Puri, and then she goes to the temple where the chariots are kept, and then they actually damage, the pujaris damage the chariot because Lakshmi is very angry and she returns back to the temple. This is on return to the temple, the priests are begging the priests of Lakshmi ji to open the door of the temple because Krishna has come back. And then to appease Lakshmi, they put a bowl of rasgullas near the door and then they open the door. Quite a good ritual.
Right.
And as the idols are brought in, the pata, which is exhibited, which is worshipped in the temple, is taken into the sea and left in the sea.
Ah.
That is Krishna, Nitai Gauranga dancing, singing in praise of Krishna. This is Krishna and the gopis. Last Leela. The actual festival starts with Krishna and Rukmini Kalyanam. And then the ritual starts. But here in that sequence, I put it at the end.
In the end, right.
That's there is a temple pond where Jagannath is taken out on a full moon night. This is an interesting story of Jagannath's request Shiva to come to his temple. So from Banaras he comes here, and then Krishna requests him to stay back. So the temple has Krishna facing east and Shiva facing west. So it's the cycle of life and death, and again,
Right. Cyclical.
continuation.
Right.
These are the Hanuman idols which I've seen in the temple. There's one of Hanuman with the mountain Sanjeevani. This is Navagunjara. Now, this is also, this Neela Chakra is actually, each of these is a Navagunjara in the original concept.
Right.
So this is Arjuna and that's Krishna. This is the Patita Pavan. Patita Pavan is something which, it makes you feel energized and makes you feel nice. And this is there on the flag of the temple. This is the eye of Krishna and the mouth of Krishna. This is the Neela Chakra.
Stunning.
Yeah, each one of them is the Navagunjara.
Right.
Okay. Guru and avatars. That's Harihara, Vishnu and Shiva together. That is the Guru and Shishya and the son. Dattatreya. I'll show you the bigger drawings.
Right.
What I showed you now, that's the size of the images. This one is Dattatreya. Mahavira, this Buddha, Shankaracharya, that's Ramanujam,
Oh, wow. That's very rare.
that's Kabir, Ramananda, that's Guru Nanak, Surdas, that's Mirabai,
Yes.
Raghavendra Swami, this is Tukaram, Sant Tukaram, that's Shirdi Sai Baba,
Very nice.
this Puttaparthi Baba, Satya Sai. This is Amritananda Mai, the Sri Sri.
It shows so starkly. It's amazing.
And this Sadguru.
Unbelievable.
After I did this, I've drawn the Annamacharya.
Ah. Oh, this is stunning. Annamacharya.
This is what I did last night. This is
Wonderful.
Kabir.
Kabir, yes. Beautiful. And that's one thing we wanted to talk about, right? Some of the tools
Yeah.
you use, or the different strokes. That is something that we're very interested in actually seeing as well.
Now these are basically English poster nibs. So depending on how you actually use them, because when you tilt it to the left, while working, then it takes a different character, and when you do it with the other angle, it becomes different. Because my drawing has strokes from different angles, I keep turning the page to draw, so that the line consistency is there. A lot of calligraphers don't want to experiment in turning the page. They want to sit and write in one particular angle. So that makes it very difficult to work. So they're only writing; they're not
drawing.
experimenting in drawing.
Correct. No, but that's very.
So you want to experiment in drawing, then you have to change the angle and the way you work.
You also have to experiment in the way you produce the art piece.
This one is Vishnu on the elephant. These are the tools. This is the ink pot I use. We use a metal ink pot so that it does not spill on paper. It needs to be, it's not necessarily a metal one, it could be anything else, but it should have a thick bottom so that it doesn't spill. Maybe a whiskey glass would be another option, where you have a very thick
bottom and stable bottom.
It doesn't, stable
right.
bottom. Then we keep a lot of tissue on that, so that even if ink spills, the tissue absorbs the ink, so it doesn't fall on the paper. Then we use the traditional base here. That's a plate which has got these three small supports, so that it does not stick to the paper. It does not. The plate does not touch the paper. And you know exactly how to keep it so that in close quarters, when you're doing a big work, you can work. There's another one which I use, which is again very traditional. is this,
Oh,
where it does
beautiful.
not spill at all. So I can take it very close to my work area and dip and use.
Right, it's very stable. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very stable. And I use a lot of tissue because the reason for using a tissue is that after you wash the nibs, it should absorb the ink and water.
It should be a very
So
good
it's much more,
blotting mechanism.
yeah. And then I use this. This is again a metal glass I use for washing the nibs, because when you hit the nib onto the glass, it gives you a nice sound. So you know that the water is flowing through the nib.
I see.
Then the nib is cleaner. If you hear that nice sound, then you know that the nib is clean. So these are the things which I use.
Unbelievable. The journey has been so interesting. And what is really important, as you mentioned, is people see what they want to see. And it's phenomenal how you're able to connect so well with, bringing out a lot of these characters in very simple and very small, effective ways. For example, when you mention Hanuman's mouth, it's very distinctive that, almost in every picture that you have drawn, we can immediately recognize him, not only the tail, but now it's also the mouth. You can, even as a baby, you can recognize him with his mother.
Yes.
So that is something that is so personalized and stunning. And I cannot thank you enough for taking time to talk us through all of this, because it's
been a pleasure.
No, but it's amazing to see so much of beautiful art come out from an accidental artist. I'm going to call you that. And
no, it will be
because it wasn't even planned. So, but it's been amazing.
I think it's divine intervention.
Absolutely, no doubt about it.
Your divine intervention.
Yeah, and the evolution of your art itself has been fascinating to see, because from where you started and then now the complexities, the more abstract that you want to go, which connects even more with people, thinking that, abstract art sometimes might not connect, but it actually has those points where people can clearly see what they want to see. So it's been fascinating, and I cannot thank you enough for taking the time and so patiently sharing your work, which I think is more important for an artist, wholeheartedly. So I don't know how to thank you, Parameshwar Raju.
You're welcome. And please visit the studio.
Of course, I definitely open invitation that I will not give up.
Now that a lot of work is there in the studio because of the book, you could see the work.
No, absolutely. And I cannot wait to see what next you come up with, because it's fascinating. And I'm so surprised that these things connect across age and across borders. It's not just within India, it's international, that people are able to understand, connect, and feel emotional about. That's what makes art what art is.
The Jesus story, what was exhibited in Brussels, was too good. The way people connected to it was quite interesting.
And that's a very humble way of saying that it completely crossed borders. But thank you so much, and it's been a pleasure and more an honor to talk to you. So thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Namaskaram.
Thanks.